Good morning. It is Monday. Hope you had an awesome weekend. Yes. Hope you had an awesome weekend. Mine was pretty good. We got some good things done around the house on Saturday and just some good restful time yesterday after church. So it was good. We are talking today about hearing God's voice, and the reason that there are so many different directions that people go with this, and some of them are like, oh, you're crazy, you're listening to voices, and it's like, no, you're not. Everybody's got voices in their head. It's just how much they're paying attention to them. There's voices around us all the time. It's kind of like radio stations going through the air. We got radio waves passing through the air that's all around us. We got all sorts of frequencies telling all sorts of voices around us, but we just need the right equipment to tune in and understand what's being said. And it's the same way with God's voice. God's always speaking, but it just takes a little bit of equipping to help us tune in to understand what He is saying. And so I just, there's a lot that can be said. I'm just going to give you a couple of things around this area today. At first, I want to tell you why. Why would this fit into this conversation? Well, most importantly, this is kind of my philosophy in parenting. But I want when my kids are firstborn, they are 100% dependent on their mom and me, and more their mom than me. Something about being a source of food. But when babies are born, they don't know anything. They can't do anything for themselves. They're not viable without help. And they transition slowly from that dependence on us to not being dependent on us. But the goal of for us, as for Amy and me in parenting, is that as the dependence on us gets less, their dependence on God increases. So they still stay 100% dependent on somebody, but it's just not us. And if they're going to become fully 100% dependent on God, that isn't just some blind trust in His sovereignty that everything, the fates work out and everything happens the way that it should be. And if this happened, then it must have been God's will. And it's like, no, that's called fatalism. That's not a biblical view of His sovereignty. And anyway, God's looking for better partnership than that. And that He said, His sheep hear His voice and they follow Him. It's just as simple as that. So, but when we learn to hear His voice, the ultimate why isn't so He can boss us around. It's not so He can give us orders. It's not so we can serve better, or He can, enforce the rules or whatever. Like, it's none of those kind of cold, hard-hearted things. It's actually because His voice is the source of life itself. When He speaks to us, it releases life. It releases purpose. You think about, in the beginning, He spoke and everything burst into existence. And when He speaks, the same thing happens on the inside of us. There's nothing like when He speaks to us. It just boom, and all of a sudden realities exist inside of us that didn't exist before. And so I want to be able to just help you know what that is on the inside of you. So the two things, first thing is just, are you actually getting a way to listen to Him? One of the exercises we do sometimes is just learning when we're teaching people how to hear God's voices. We'll just have the room completely quiet, and we'll try to have people be completely quiet, even on their insides, for a minute. And it's hard for a lot of people. We're so used to having noise and input and that sort of thing that being completely quiet for even 60 seconds is very hard. And just when there's that much internal noise, sometimes that can make it difficult to hear the voice of God. And so we actually have to get practiced in, the guy I learned this from, my pastor, Jamie, he said it's kind of like watching the the RPM gauge on your on your motor, and if it's running real fast, it's like we've got to learn how to zero it out in order to hear the voice of the Lord in the midst of running fast through life. But it can really help when we're learning. Eventually, I'd love you can give somebody a prophetic word and hear the voice of God for yourself and for others, no matter where you are, whether you're in a rock concert or whether you're in a prayer room, chapel, super quiet area, whatever. But in learning, it can really help to just get away. Find a quiet space, find it in nature, find it in a prayer closet, find it in private, find it in public, wherever it is that's peaceful for you. If you just go there, doesn't even have to be long, be there for 5 minutes, but be there long enough to just let your heart come to rest and just be before the Lord. Seek him. The most important part of hearing God's voice, in my opinion, is wanting to. And so the heart of this first piece that I'm talking about is really just finding ways of demonstrating, hey, God, I actually do want to hear from you. So then the second part, actually hearing from him. It's really easy. I remember when I first learned anything about this, I already knew I was hearing God, but I just wasn't confident in really truly the fact that I already heard him. And so, but I'd heard about this Bible study that was teaching these guys how to prophesy, and my dad was going, and he's like, Nathaniel, you got to come. So I showed up 5 a.m, back room of a Perkins somewhere on a Tuesday morning, and I was super nervous. I was like, I don't know, like this is about, we're going to prophesy over people, and I don't know how this works. Does the Holy Spirit just come take over me, and I have this uncontrollable unction and words flow out of my mouth? What is this? Like, no, actually that wasn't it at all. And what actually happened was he said, you're in a group with 2 other guys, 3 men total. Just have a 4th chair there and pretend Jesus is sitting in the chair. And Jesus, what do you want to say to Josh? Josh was one of the other guys in my group that morning, friend of mine to this day. And what do you want to say to Josh? And whatever the first thing that comes to your mind is, that's probably what the Lord's saying. And you offer it up, just, here's what I feel like God's saying. And that gives them an opportunity to give you immediate feedback. Yeah, that is dead on accurate. That had to be God, because there's no other way that you could have known that, could have gotten that, could have heard it, could have whatever, come up with that. And through that group of offering those words of encouragement to other people, then it was literally one of the most significant things in my spiritual life, because getting feedback that, yes, this actually is God, said in my head, yeah, that actually is God, and I got to have confidence in hearing his voice. So that would be my biggest, first actually want to hear him. I assume if you're still watching this, you do. Second, just trust it. Like, God isn't making this super complicated. Ask him what he thinks about this, whatever it is that's going on in your life. Ask him what he wants to say to your children, to your husband, to your wife, like whoever it is. Just ask him. What does he want to say? Take the first thought that comes to your mind, offer it up, and see what they give you as feedback, or pray into that and see what sort of life starts flowing in that. And that's going to be the process of practicing and growing in this. And the more that you practice it, the more you're going to hear, and the more confident that you're going to be. And at some point, I don't know that you can really get away from the need to have that. I'm offering this to you. I think this is what God is saying to you. And please offer it that way. I think this is what God's saying to you, or I feel like this is what God's saying to you. Give them freedom to receive it or not. But Um, sorry, my brain is going. How deep do I want to go into this? I'll just leave it there. But offer it to them and then see. Uh, give them room to give you feedback, and that is really where you're going to get growing confidence that this is what you're hearing, that what you're hearing is from the Lord. So that's what I've got. There is so much more, and if you're interested in this, like, we can talk more about this in other times. Just let me know. But hearing God's voice, it is the source of life. It makes His life explode inside of you. It is so amazing, and it is absolutely transformational. You want it, go after it, and don't let anybody tell you God doesn't speak to His kids. He's not an abusive father that gives you the cold shoulder or ignores you. He is intimate. He wants to have a real relationship with you, and that means communication. It's one of the most important parts of any relationship, and our relationship with God is no exception. So, to find that quiet place, just something to let your heart cry out, God, I'm here. I want to hear from you. And then ask Him. Whatever that first thought that comes in, it's probably Him. And offer it up. Pray into it. Offer it up to a person. Test it with some community around you. See where it goes. And you'll watch this grow. It grows real fast. So anyway, hope that's really helpful for you. If it is, let me know. Send me a message or say something in the comments, and we'd love to get some conversation going around this as well. So bless you guys. Happy Monday, and we'll be back all week long. So we'll see you tomorrow morning.